We finish this week's episode of our podcast today with a story and a lesson. If you want to be a great boss, it will require you to be brave on nearly a daily basis. The good news is that being brave takes almost no time at all. A few years ago, when my daughter Lily was 9, she took an acting class, a class for kids at our local community theater, and she loved it. Lily has always loved being creative. For as long as I can remember, she's loved to draw and write stories. We actually have boxes full of homemade comic books that she has authored, and these are incredible, the drawings and the stories. If she ever hits the big time as an author, those babies are going to fund Daddy's retirement. So, Mr. Mull, what would you like to name your new boat? The SS Lily, please. After the acting class was over, it was really no surprise that Lily told us she wanted to audition for the junior production of Mary Poppins that the theater had just announced. And I remember thinking, my time has arrived. You see, folks, my bachelor's degree is in music and theater. I've done a lot of performing, and so I was excited. I said, Lily, hey man, this here thing is sort of your daddy's jam. If you want, I would be happy to help you get ready to audition. She asked me what was involved in doing an audition, and I told her that it's usually just a combination of performing a few lines in character and singing a few bars of a song. You mean by myself? Yeah, but it's only for a minute, honey. Well, that's when everything changed. I watched the enthusiasm drain from her body. Well, I don't know. I'll think about it. For the next 10 days, she wrestled with her fear. We talked when she wanted to. I tried to gently encourage her. I told her that auditions are just there to prove to the director that she won't freeze up on stage. I told her that, hey, we could just do a practice audition at home where we make it just like you would do it at the theater, if that would help you. And I told her that auditions only require her to be brave for 1 minute. That's it, honey. If you can be brave for 1 minute, it opens the door to something you really want. You just have to decide if you're willing to trade 1 minute of discomfort for all the good things that come after. And that seemed to work. In fact, we made Brave for 1 minute her slogan whenever she felt nervous about auditioning. Now, most days as a parent, you feel like you're making it up along the way, right? But on this particular week, I felt like I was nailing it. I was dropping dad bombs. Take that, Super Nanny. I was all proud of myself. We had motivated Lily to really conquer her fear. We gave her a slogan. She was on her way. And then 3 days before the audition, she announced she wasn't doing it. And then 2 days before, she got mad when we even brought it up. And then wouldn't you know it, the morning of the auditions, she came downstairs and announced that she wanted to try. Can you help me, Daddy? Yes, I can. Okay, we need a song. We're going to have to pick a song that you know cold. What do you know every single word to? Hamilton. You know every single word to Hamilton because we've all been obsessed for years in our house. So I grab the Lily and I grab the Hamilton song book and we go into the other room and we start flipping through and we pick the song Dear Theodosia. I put the music on and I say, okay, Lily, you know this. Just sing what pops into your head along with the music. Give it a try. Dear Theodosia, what to say to you? You have my eyes, you have your mother's name. When you came into the world, you cried, and it broke my heart. She was doing it. Oh, and by the way, at this moment when she started singing, I am done, a puddle, a hot mess, all the feels. We run it a few times. She's doing it pretty well. And then she has to get on the bus and go to school. After school, she still wants to do it, so we jump in my truck and we race to the theater before she loses her nerve. And 1 block away in the back seat, she bursts into tears. I'm so nervous. I pulled over, and that's okay, honey. You know the song, and you only have to be brave for 1 minute. You're gonna do great. We got out of my truck, and as soon as we hit the sidewalk, she grabbed my hand. I remember thinking, boy, that doesn't happen much anymore at 9 years old. We walked in nervous silence to the rehearsal space, signed in, and waited. Lily was the 5th person called back. Terrified, but hey, no going back now because all these other kids and parents are sitting right there, I watched as her head dragged the rest of her body into the audition room. Have fun, sweetie. 3 minutes later, she came around the bend, and on her face was the joy and pride and glee and relief that you experience when you face and conquer your fear. She did it! And she got cast in the show. Honeybee number 3. Listen, people, as honeybee roles go, that's the one you want right there. That night after her audition, I posted her picture on Facebook, briefly telling the story of our brave for 1 minute mantra and bragging about how proud of her I was. I even added a little hashtag at the end of the post, hashtag brave for 1 minute. A few days later, a friend of ours sent Lily a t-shirt that said hashtag brave for 1 minute, with a note about how inspired she was by Lily's courage. A year and a half later, and she still wears that t-shirt all the time. Not long after this, my mom had to have a medical procedure, and she gets anxious about those things. But she told me, you know what, Joe? I just kept thinking about that story you shared about Lily and about being brave for 1 minute, and I thought, if Lily can do it, so can I. One of the conversations that Lily and I had when she was nervous before her audition was about courage. And that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what it takes even when you are afraid. If you want to be a great boss, it will require you to be brave on nearly a daily basis. But here's the good news. You'll rarely need to be brave for long periods of time. That uncomfortable conversation at work that you've been avoiding, it's not the whole conversation that's uncomfortable, it's just getting started. Being vulnerable and honest with your team, the hardest part is the beginning. Speaking truth to power, questioning a decision, holding people accountable, these are the things that great bosses must do daily. And they don't require endless reserves of courage. They just require 60 seconds of bravery. Because once you've started, you've already succeeded. And so we end with that this week, Boss Heroes. When circumstances at work call for courage, be like Lily. Be brave for 1 minute.